about, that is Myanmar. I'm excited. I think you should be also because it's an issue that concerns all of us. But today I have someone really interesting, and I think he would add immense value to this subject matter. I have here with me Dr. Fuadi Pitsuwan. Hi, Dr. Fuadi, welcome.
Great to be with you. Thank you for
Right.
inviting me.
Dr. Fuadi, I met him some years ago. I recently met him again at the Asia Pacific Roundtable in Kuala Lumpur. He is the son of a famous Thai Foreign Minister, Dr. Surin Pitsuwan, who also had served as the ASEAN Secretary General, an intellect, a giant of personality. And his son, Dr. Fuadi, I think is following his footsteps. Been to Georgetown, Harvard, Oxford, just name it, he's done it. But today he is also interested in Myanmar, and I thought it would be useful to have him to join us. Dr. Fuadi, maybe before you jumping into the serious thing, could you just quickly tell us about, what are you doing, and all this stuff?
I think the issue of Myanmar has always been part of my life. I remember asking my late father once, of all the countries in Southeast Asia, which one you think you contributed to the most? He didn't say Thailand, he said Myanmar. This is also because, I think this is because during the Nargis, Cyclone Nargis, I was graduating in 2008, and then on that very same day, right, my dad was going to my graduation in Washington, D.C., and then he had to flew back because of Nargis.
Oh.
So he didn't actually attend my graduation ceremony. So I think that is an example that epitomized my relationship with Myanmar. My late father was quite preoccupied with it on many occasions. And then I think his role in Nargis, I think, taught me a lot as well, and became something that I usually cite as an example of what ASEAN could actually do for its member. So that's my relationship with Myanmar, but also because I'm Thai. In Thailand, right now, particularly right now, there are already about 10 million Myanmar people in Thailand. This is unofficial. So already 10% of Thai population is Myanmar.
Wow.
10, which equal to 10% of Myanmar population. So this is the figure that has been talked about, particularly after the coup d'etat in 2021. But Thai and Myanmar, despite our historical animosities, have always been quite symbiotic in the sense that we have similar culture. We both have water festival, right? Both of our country, a lot of shared cuisine, and also very economically, I think, close to each other. We import a lot of Myanmar gas into Thailand.
Oh, okay.
Right? If you turn on the light in Bangkok, about 14% of that source of light came from a well in Myanmar.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
14%?
14%, 8 to 14, depends on which
Wow.
figure. In terms of our national gas import, total is about 20% of gas import. About 8 to 14% goes to electricity. About 150 Thai companies were active in Myanmar.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of those, and in terms of blue collar jobs, a lot of those are being filled by our Myanmar friends.
Okay.
A lot of domestic workers, a lot of people working in restaurant, factories. So this was the symbiotic relationship, right? They helped build our economy. But that was before the coup. After the coup, I think the people who moved to Thailand are actually white collar people are also moving to Thailand too.
Okay.
Seeking better opportunities, also escaping from the chaos in Myanmar. So you see professionals, businessmen, doctors, nurses, lawyers, thinkers, intellectuals moving to Thailand.
Okay.
So this is the situation that we are seeing in Thailand. So we're quite close, the two countries, despite historical animosity. The people, I think, are quite close. But of course, there are tensions, right? I think the challenge now for Thai people who are a bit more progressive, who believe that humans should come first, and we are trying to find a way so that both Thailand and our Myanmar friend can live together, can benefit, and can help, build both countries together. That's a struggle that we have. There are pushback from the far right about some of these, with some of these influx of Myanmar people, but because Thailand has many stand to benefit a lot from this influx too. So if we have good enough policy, try to be prudent about it, I think we can benefit while also helping our Myanmar friends.
Yeah, no, I can see why Thailand is a very important answer to this entire puzzle that we are looking at. Even in Malaysia, of course, you know that we have about 100,000 or 200,000 refugees. Most of them are Rohingyas, not the other ethnic groups in Myanmar. Initially, of course, there was a lot of welcome feeling, but eventually there is some pushback because economically and all that kind of stuff. So ultimately, I think I can see Southeast Asia needs to handle this matter because otherwise it will cause friction within the country and between countries as well, right? So in that context, you would have seen the news. ASEAN is now talking about creating a permanent envoy for Myanmar. This is something that we have talked about before. I have been a strong advocate of this, so I was actually very pleased to hear. But I just wanted to know, what are your thoughts about this permanent envoy for Myanmar and ASEAN permanent envoy?
I think it is the most important legacy that Malaysia can create. In ASEAN, the chair are rotating, right? So Malaysia is the chair now. Malaysia has 1 year to work on Myanmar issue. We can talk about what other things Malaysia could do or how to restructure this. But the issue of permanent envoy will allow this to be bridged, right? The fact that if the permanent envoy, for example, if the term is 3 to 5 years, then the issue will at least stay with one office or one group for longer than 1 year. You cannot expect much progress with just 1 year. So at least the domain knowledge that has been collected by different country, it's very difficult to pass on to another country, particularly if that country are not a direct stakeholder on Myanmar crisis. For example, next year is the Philippines. They care a lot more about South China Sea, right? So they are not a direct stakeholder in Myanmar. So there will be a gap, a learning curve for Philippines to catch up. But if there is an office that deal with this directly issue on a daily basis with longer mandate than 1 year, then there will be that continuity. And if that envoy could be empowered to make some decision, if he is a foreign minister level, right, rather than below a foreign minister level, then I think that there is hope for some progress, I think.
Yeah. So you think the timing is good for this idea? Because the press, this is my personal impression, I couldn't be totally correct on this, but it seems to be less than, rather lukewarm on this thing. I'm not sure, because perhaps the feeling is that this is just another one of those proposals. We can't blame them too, because we have tried so much on Myanmar over the years. But do you think this timing is good? I mean, you said that Kuala Lumpur could do a bit on this matter, but generally,
I think it's better now than later. It should have happened before this. I think Indonesia has been trying, actually, advocating for the same similar kind of proposal. Now it's Malaysia's turn with Anwar personal interest on this issue. I think with his political capital in the region, I think we have some hope in pushing through some of this. But right now, it's still, even though it has been announced, has been talked about, it's still in the socialization process. It's still to be decided by the rest of the members of ASEAN, who each can veto, right? So we're hoping that none of them would veto, and that has been a problem in ASEAN on Myanmar crisis. We cannot get consensus on a lot of initiatives. there have been others initiatives that has been proposed. We could talk about that later too. So we really hope that this idea of a permanent special envoy, when we say permanent, it means longer than 1 year. Right?
Yeah.
It's not forever. 3 to 5 that has to be discussed. Who it will be, which nationality that person would be, I think it has to be discussed further. But first, it has to be agreed by the 10 members, and we don't know if they would agree. But we have strong hope that other countries, other leaders would agree because it's so important. I think ASEAN right now, I think suffer from what I would call a 3R crisis: crisis of reputation, crisis of respectability, and crisis of relevance.
Okay.
If you see the picture of our Myanmar Myanmar friends burning ASEAN flag, I don't know if you have seen
I noticed,
those.
So
I think
sad.
because they lack hope, right? I think that they lack confidence that ASEAN can give them hope, can help them achieve their dreams of a democratic, of a peaceful nation. And I think ASEAN owe it to the citizens to prove that there is a way out of this for ordinary citizens, particularly Myanmar people right now.
Yeah.
And a permanent envoy will be a step in that direction.
Yeah.
ASEAN 5-part consensus was a step in that direction. We may criticize ASEAN 5-part consensus, but it is a very important document. It is a license to intervene. Right? It's quite an achievement for leaders to agree to something at that level in writing, right?
Correct.
So it's a document to hold on to. The problem will be how to fulfill it. We have stuck for a long time, and this informed the media why they are skeptical of any ASEAN initiative on this, because we have not delivered on 5-part consensus, which was agreed long before this.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that is it. I think because of that 5-part consensus, but even before that too, we have always had this issue of feet dragging, with the Myanmar, rulers there. So I think there's less, not a really enthusiastic kind of thing. But you're right, because ministers said that ASEAN thinking about it, but what it means is that right now there will be a frantic exchange of papers, non-papers, concept papers, and all sorts of things between the ASEAN countries to try and flesh out this idea. So our conversation here is just to sort of think about, speculate what that they could think about, and if they find it useful, they could use some of those thinking. So mandate, we are talking about, you mentioned about 5-point consensus. It's a very important document. So obviously it has to feature somewhere. I mean, it basically talks about the mandate. It talks about resolving the humanitarian crisis, access to, a political, process, etc. in the country, right? But what should be, do you think there should be any other mandate that this new envoy, permanent envoy that we're talking about?
I think this special envoy first will need to change the ASEAN worldview on how they see Myanmar, how ASEAN has been seeing Myanmar. Okay. I think the special envoy should be mandated to engage other groups in Myanmar.
Okay.
Because Myanmar, we look at the country Myanmar, but it's not a single unitary state anymore, right? It hasn't really been, but it is even increasingly so with the opposition, with the resistance gaining more ground.
Yeah, they say 40% of the country is now in...
Some figures say more, right?
Is it?
Yeah, depends on who you talk to. So it's, I think a professor in Canada, Professor Kai Oswald, uses this term called statelets. A state that is emerging, area, country that is emerging but not fully recognized as state yet, right? But there are groups in Myanmar that are trying to institutionalize their public services, their health services, their education services, and if they are able to function like a mini states, I think it will be good for ASEAN in terms of stability, in terms of lower chance of influx of refugee, abilities to solve their own issue, ability to trade and determine their own future. I think it is like that now in Myanmar. Right? You don't pick up the phone. ASEAN needs to get out of the mentality that when it picks up the phone, the other side is SAC or the other side is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Naypyidaw. When it pick up the phone, there are so many groups that has that authority in Myanmar, right? I think that should be the mandate of the permanent envoy, not only to talk to Min Aung Hlaing, but also the mandate to engage sub-state level officials and groups to actually bring it to the public. Right?
Okay.
I think right now, I think different ASEAN members do engage these groups separately, but usually on a very low-key basis for fear of granting legitimacy to our the ERO's friends, the ERO's ethnic resistant organization friends, or NUG, which is the opposition, for fear of legitimizing them and for fear of upsetting the junta. Right? So the engagement has been quite low level behind the scene. But I think the fact that Anwar, and this is something that Anwar, I consider it a progress when Anwar decided to meet with NUG, right? After he met Min Aung Hlaing and he met with NUG online in Bangkok. And then he also hosted meeting with our ERO's friends and NUG in KL as well.
Yes, he did, yes.
Right? The fact that this is normalizing engagement, I think, is a very, very good step. And that mandate, I think, should be passed on to the permanent envoy.
Okay, so you think the military rulers are, I suppose they wouldn't be terribly happy that we are engaging others, right? But is there willingness that they see that is the way?
I think you have to think of it in terms of game theory. They don't have a choice either. Right? I mean, they will still want to engage ASEAN for their own legitimacy, for their own personal survival or image, at least at that level. And I think ASEAN should leverage that, right? I mean, it's not like talk to NUG and Min Aung Hlaing will not talk to us, right? So they still need to talk. I think the decision to engage should be used carefully. Right? The willingness I think should be used in our favor.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you're totally right. I mean, somehow the point is this my memory as well. But the rulers, military rulers, need ASEAN as well for their own legitimacy, elevation to the international level, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So there is value that ASEAN brings to them. So it is to their interest as well to see how to work with this. But ASEAN will have to now leverage this thing very carefully. And this is where I suppose the crafting of the mandate and the rule and roles of this permanent envoy has to be worked out. I mean, I certainly think it's not something that ASEAN should rush into quickly agreeing and cementing. They have to work it out very thoroughly, carefully, maybe even do some thought experiment to see whether they've covered all the grounds, to see how things have gone, because we have a wealth of information on what happens when you do certain things. So we can sort of bounce it back together. I think there are enough also experts on the ground out there, and some of them may not necessarily be from ASEAN too. There could be outside experts, international experts who have got a wealth of experience and knowledge, I think, which is useful. So on that score, let's talk about the institutional setup of this so-called permanent envoy, right? I mean, are we talking about an office next to the Secretary General's office in Jakarta, in the ASEAN Secretariat? Or are we talking about a new office altogether, perhaps sitting closer to the ground, maybe in your country, Thailand, for example, or elsewhere, manned by, ASEAN and some. So, I mean, a whole lot of things. As I said, ASEAN must lead it. We also suspect that there is expertise out there as well. We need to be able to tap into that as well. We also must make sure that it's quick to act on the ground. So it's not sitting very far away in a distant country as well. So what are your thoughts on this, Dr. Fuadi?
I think it matters where this is located, but I feel that it has always been ASEAN tradition of whoever willing to pay this kind of satellite office or engagement, whoever is willing to put up the money to set it up, right? Hiring staff and all these will usually be stationed there. Like Thailand has a few ASEAN centers for sustainability because Thailand wanted to promote that, so they pay for some of those offices, right? So if Thailand care about it the most, I think we can expect Thailand to foot the bill. But it has, I think it needs some nudge, because I think Thailand if it can choose, if Thailand can choose, Thailand just want to run away from the problem. I think, but it cannot choose. We share 24, what do you call, 2,400 kilometers of borders, right? So it cannot run away. But I think Thailand needs some nudge. But Thailand should foot the bill for this because it stands to benefit the most as well. And an area that it could be located, the Special Envoy Office, for example, like Mae Sot or Chiang Mai, right? Because these groups, a lot of Myanmar people are already there. So engagement should be quite easier. So I think having some permanent spaces there, I think will be quite useful.
And of course, I think it not necessarily have to be funded entirely by Thailand.
Yeah.
I mean, ASEAN members too, should be willing to support, but perhaps not with what they call forced contribution. I mean, some of us have more interest in it. Maybe it could be, this is where the ASEAN minus X principle could come in.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 countries are very interested, they could do it. But it would be, of course, ideally everyone in. But what about international support?
I mean, ASEAN has always been getting international support, right? I think the last time I remember when my late father era, ASEAN has a budget of $14 million. I don't know.
Yeah, that's about it.
I don't know if it has increased, but ASEAN has a way to, to leverage donors from other countries. Right? The Germans, the other Europeans have given a lot. So I think there are ways to leverage some of those. But because of the state of the world that is like this right now, I think resources from outside the region may not be as easy to find like in the past. So I think ASEAN ought to become more independent on this issue as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, right? I mean, it's an ASEAN Permanent Envoy, so you got to foot the bill as well, right?
Yeah.
But of course, I don't think we should be completely closed to the idea of others supporting as well. Perhaps this office that you're talking about, if there are experts from other parts of the world with ground knowledge, I think ASEAN should be able to employ them as experts or of that sort. Do you think that would be a way to move?
I think so. Like in Aceh, for example, we had Aceh monitoring mission.
Yes.
Which was we worked together with the EU, right? EU ASEAN team. I think it was 226 members. 2/3 were Europeans, were non-ASEAN. 1/3 was ASEAN members.
Okay.
So actually less ASEAN, but at least it's a model, it's an inspiration that we could work together with other groups, other entities. Another example is Cyclone Nargis. ASEAN worked together with ASEAN, UN, and Myanmar government. I mean, this time I wouldn't encourage that kind of setup, but there may be other modalities because of the legitimacy of SAC. But at least it's a model to show that, hey, there's some form of interference, even if you would call it. ASEAN have engaged in a strong way for the betterment of another country. Right?
Thank you very much, because I completely forgot about this, the Aceh experiment, I mean, the way we approached it. So obviously ASEAN has already got an experience, right, working with others.
Many. 1978, our intervention in Cambodia. Right?
Okay, oh yes, that too.
1999, East Timor. We worked together with Australian.
Yes,
right?
yes.
American was also helping, providing logistic and all these. 2005, Aceh. 2008, Nargis. So actually many, I think the non-interference actually is a myth. We have to find a way to not call it interference, maybe coerce the junta, someone into letting ASEAN in, right? And we don't call it interference because it's allowed to be in. But before that agreement to let ASEAN go in or do more, I think something happened before that to make it happen. So I think there are many examples, and I think we ought to relook at those inspiration and models of the past, not only for Myanmar crisis, but also to give younger people an idea, a hope that ASEAN still means something for them. Right?
Yes.
I think ASEAN has become very irrelevant to the under 40s, and if they can see something play out live during when they're growing up, that ASEAN is actually active and doing something. I think the last time we see some major significant intervention or willingness to do things was Cyclone Nargis, right?
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. No, I'm suddenly very excited because you mentioned so many things that sort of gone into the background of my
Another
thought.
one is Thai-Cambodian crisis. Minister Marty was quite involved.
That's
in
right,
trying to broker,
Dr. Marty was.
some of this conflict as well. So there have been examples.
Yeah, correct. Now that you mentioned Dr. Marty and everything, so my thought now comes to perhaps ideal candidates who might you might think about. I mean, I personally was thinking only about former foreign ministers because I suspect they would know the subject matter more than the others. But it need not be. It has to be someone who understands instinctively and probably much more at a deeper level. So we should actually broaden the scope. I think ASEAN. Not just looking at former foreign ministers, or worse still, former ambassadors. Who probably know much less than anybody else. Your thoughts, Dr. Fuadi?
I have been briefed that there was an engagement with Min Aung Hlaing between a civilian leader and a military leader. And supposedly, when he engaged in his hat as commander-in-chief, he engaged much more openly.
Because they understand something.
Because I think Min Aung Hlaing still feel much more comfortable in his uniform. And he engaged much more openly with another uniform person.
Okay.
This is what I have been told. And if we can find a figure that understands that side of diplomacy, the more uniform, the more militaristic, the more security focused, with an understanding of human rights, of democracy, and there have been military figures in Southeast Asia who are like that. I think that may be a good option to look at, but it's not necessary either, right? People like senior have a lot of experience, like Minister Marty would be good as well. Right?
Good,
Or even SBY with his military background. Like if we're gonna go at that level,
correct.
If we're gonna give that what do you call hidden, like intangible mandate. Like if you figure like SBY become special envoy, right? People will listen.
Of course, I mean, the man himself has got the stature, right?
Yeah.
So that's no, I think that's a very instinctive, good point. That someone from the military background, because of this wavelength kind of thing, goes on. Well, I hope of course, we have names in our minds, but maybe we don't want to, put it out there. Let
some retired military official from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand could work as well.
Could be. Yeah, Thailand especially, I'm thinking, because you're on the ground and everything, But as always, all good things must come to an end at some point, So this conversation too must come to an end. But I just wanted to touch about your late father, Dr. Surin Pitsuwan. I never worked with him personally, but it is someone that I have great admiration for. My Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, also mentions him very fondly because he has had all the dealing with him, etc. So if he was here today, how do you think he would have approached this crisis? You started by saying his legacy, you talked with him, etc. Right? So how much of that shapes your thinking here? First, what would he have done, and how much?
I think fundamentally, my late father and myself is driven by an idea that we should be able to feel secure about our life. Much more human security. He was part of the Human Security Commission with Madame Okata and Mataya Sen. I think that shaped a lot of his thinking. That human come first. So based on that ideal, that foundation, how do you maneuver different intricacy and complexity of ASEAN to make sure that everyone in ASEAN feel safe, freedom from human security is about freedom from fear and freedom from want. Like want mean food and all these, they have to feel secure. So I think from that basis, how do you maneuver all these? And and I think you see a lot of his policy is informed by this kind of logic. In 1998, he proposed something called flexible engagement. Flexible engagement means if you're because ASEAN supposedly is very careful and very adhere to the principle of non-interference. But his question was, if an issue in your country become an internal domestic issue in my country, This was given Myanmar refugee influx at that period. Then Thailand should be able, or other countries, I think, should be able to table this and talk about this issue openly.
Yes.
He said that in 1998, I think only Philippines was okay with the idea. But fast forward to now, I think ASEAN have come very far.
Yes.
I think we may not call it, have a term for it, but we do, like I said, circumvent this. We do talk about Myanmar issue openly now.
Yes,
I
yes.
think whether we can tangibly do something that is tangible, that is actually meaningful to Myanmar people, remain to be seen. But let me also backtrack a little bit. My late father proposed an idea in 1998 called flexible engagement. Actually, before that, Anwar Ibrahim proposed an idea called constructive intervention.
Yes.
Right? People get mixed up between three ideas. Constructive engagement, which is really just a modernization theory. You engage a country, you trade with them, and they will eventually open up. Right? In constructive engagement, you don't really talk politics, but politics will follow economic development. And that has been a de facto Thai policy with Myanmar for a long time. It's still ongoing. And then constructive intervention, 1997, Anwar Ibrahim, that was seen as too strong, like at least the term.
At that time, yeah, 98, yes.
Even now, I think it's still intervention is quite a what do you call a no word still. I think there are other ways to communicate that. So Anwar proposed that in the context of Cambodian coup, 1997, it was going to disintegrate. So Anwar was saying we have to do something. And my late father came in 1998, dumb it down a little bit, not intervention, but hey, flexible engagement. I think with that kind of spirit, I think should be revived.
Okay.
Right? I think we should hold Malaysian Prime Minister accountable to what he said before in 1997 to do more. And then it actually has been quite okay so far.
Yeah.
I hope he can do more on this.
Yeah. I hope he listens to this video as well.
Yeah.
But Dr. Fuadi, thank you very, very much. It's
Thank
been
you very
a
much.
fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
Listeners, please hit the like button. You got to do that all the time. Your comments, and share this video widely so that everyone can have a more informed position on this country called Myanmar.